Hey guys, in lieu of a recently canceled podcast episode, I'm going to be watching 1984's Ghostbusters. Yeah, starring Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, some other people, directed by a Jewish guy who puts his kids in movies now and stuff. Anyways, the point is that this is one of my favorite movies. I hope you guys enjoy it. And it's going to be an Patreon exclusive commentary track from me for my Patreon supporters. So sign up. Just $1 a month gives you full access to the archives of the recently canceled podcast as well as the commentaries. Can't be putting this stuff up on YouTube because I'm getting community strikes. Or copyright strikes, whichever. So if you are ready to watch the show with me, go ahead, queue up to 000, and now I have to awkwardly reach for the controller. Okay, there we go. We're watching Ghostbusters on Netflix. 000. Hit play now. Rated PG. I'm trying to think here. It was the number 2 film at the box office that year, behind the R-rated Beverly Hills Cop, which is pretty much like the opposite of what one would expect today. What, an R-rated movie was the best film movie? Hollywood don't even want to try. Got this quite ominous music playing as we see this lion statue. The birds go by. I've got mac and cheese, which I'm eating with one of my Nork forks, thanks to the Nork Flatware people. And I have a pulled pork sandwich. So you're going to be hearing me munch on that. I figured since I don't have a guest with me, this might make it a little bit more eventful. I am balancing like 10 different things on my lap here. I think this was actually shot in New York Public Library. Libraries have a lot of haunting mythos around them. Like there's a library where I'm at in Kansas. It's not in my town, but it's one that my mom has gone to. She's a children's librarian, or she calls it youth services coordinator. And there is a library which has a basement. Some small town in Kansas, library in the basement that they say is haunted. I mean, like people go down there, things move, books appear in different places. I bet you kids watching don't even know what those cards are. That old filing system. Okay, what's she so afraid of? Like, okay, now she sees the ghost, but I mean, she's turning around, Ghostbusters, 2 words here. I've seen it written out 1 word. I've seen it written out 2. I've seen it written out 1 word with the B capitalized right in the middle. This Ghostbusters jam, I mean, this was my 80s jam. I would request this when I was at like roller skating rinks when it was like my birthday, and I would wig out if they didn't play it. Or didn't play the full song. Yeah. Dr. Peter Venkman, Bill Murray here. Testing psychic abilities. Some negative reinforcement. Like giving this guy a shock. Oh, but the pretty co-ed, yeah. I'll just go ahead and say what, the wrong thing there, and boom. Now, it's odd that he's flipping the card around to show the guy that he's wrong. But when the chick says it, oh, hey, you're right. Wow, you're so good at this. Why don't we meet up later? You guys ever done a study at a college? There's one where there was like, hey, if you do this study, we'll give you $10. And then at the end of the thing, it was like, so we wanted to ask you what you thought about getting the $10. We made that up. How do you feel about that? The whole point of the whole questionnaire was to set you up to think that you were going to get money for doing the study. And then all the questions about you not getting the money and how you were supposed to be angry about how you wasted your time. But the trick is, I went in there knowing there wouldn't be any money. Smooth ladies man Bill Murray. You know, there's so many weird names in this. Ray and Peter are two of the more common. I mean, Winston Zeddemore? Where did they come up with this stuff? Egon? You ever met an Egon? So here comes Dan Aykroyd. He's telling him about how they had the situation with the librarian at the beginning here. They need to go investigate. Quite the tall cast of guys here. I think in you look at some of the posters and things, it only shows 3 Ghostbusters, but when I was a kid, I always thought of them as being 4. And granted, Winston shows up later in the film. But he was there from the start in the cartoon, The Real Ghostbusters. Now, I guess that Dan Aykroyd is the writer of the film, and this is very much his baby, this project, and he actually is very interested in paranormal activities, and so with him being highly interested in that, that's how he comes up with turning that into a screenplay. In the trailer for this, they talked about how it was a collection of people who have made more people laugh than anybody in the time. So, Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, Saturday Night Live's alums. Shit, forgot Egon. How can I forget who plays Egon? Well, he's the writer of Animal House and director of Caddyshack. And then the director here was the director of, I think, Stripes. Quite an unusual camcorder Aykroyd's got there. Camcorders cost so much back in the day. I mean, I'm assuming it's at least $1,000 camcorder, honestly. Of course, you have Bill Murray here. Venkman, he's highly skeptical of this while pretending to buy into the psychic stuff. This is hot, Ray. Symmetrical book stacking, just like the Philadelphia mass turbulence of 1947. I like it. the odd precision, the pinpoint accuracy here, like how there's a name for all these circumstances. It just makes it seem so much more legit, but also funny. I guess the card catalog got shot out of there with they had some tubes tied up, used like a vacuum cleaner and shot them up. Vacuum cleaner in reverse, I think. I'm wondering how much meat eating is disturbing this whole thing for the three of you listening. Now, a bit of foreshadowing here. You can see that Venkman's, he just picked up that slime. He got a sample, and he's like, ugh, it's sticky, it's all over me, ugh. And of course, he gets slimed later. You know this because you watched the movie before you're hearing me talk about it, right? This movie has a hard to pinpoint tone because there's not this weird kookiness and overwrought playing things up for comedy laughs, early on here. But you do get a little bit of a horror thing, like Scare the Librarian. Now you got this little scene here where it's spooking you out some. So they're going to make contact with this ghost, which this is a better ghost effect than they have in movies today. Don't believe me? Check out what they did for that Ghostbusters 2016. I like the fuzziness of this. And then when the ghost transforms, I think there was some Jim Henson Muppet effects there. What I never really caught before until I saw something about a special features about this, the clothes fall off of the ghost. I guess it makes it even more scary. Cue the music, they run out, and they never go back and address that library ghost. So now that they've found a ghost, they have anointed themselves Ghostbusters. I'm always serious. I really like the way Egon plays this, so straight, man. They head back to the university, find that they're being removed. There's a nice little joke coming here where it's like, oh man, you never had to work in the private sector. We've just been mooching off these grants this whole time, which is so how things work with universities. Oh, hey, I want to do something for fun, but can you, give me a grant for that? I gotta make some scratch, gotta stay alive. I just want to, goof around with science. Private sector, they expect results. I really like the music that plays throughout this movie, both the sense of the score and the soundtrack is great too. Really no complaints there whatsoever. And I would say that unlike Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom in particular, the score doesn't try too hard to convey the emotions here. Venkman's looking to make a buck here, but he's going to need Ray. Now this right here, investment, like chief investment strat. Okay, so he has 3 mortgages on this house at 19%. That's incredibly high. What do they use? I mean, I gotta wonder about this house, man. How immense was this house? Because they get this mortgage to fund the Ghostbuster fire station, which, according to something, like, look at this prime location here. That real estate today is like the most expensive fictional hero digs. Like, it's actually more expensive than Wayne Manor because Wayne Manor isn't in the heart of Manhattan. That's how freakishly expensive the Ghostbusters firehouse is. I guess I never understood how people aren't constantly falling out of these poles at fire stations, you know? It just seems like an easy way to crack your head open. At least he's excited about it. There's a matte work there, but it looks good. And of course, nowadays you can't just have a static shot with a matte painting. Now things have to zoom in all 3D. It's got to like pan around and tilt. And then you're going to like go in and swoop between some chick's legs and then look up at the building. Enter Sigourney Weaver. Look at that Art Deco finishings in her apartment. There's Louis Tully. Rick Moranis, Canadian. I think he was at Second City. Sort of a underling SNL. Almost like how Mad TV was, if you remember that. And it really seems like Lewis is a horny little guy here. Wanting to shack up with Sigourney Weaver. I think he locks himself out. Look at this awkward commercial. Everybody like stands in a line and then walks forward to say their line. They do a good job making fun of local ads in the second film too. We're ready to believe you, kind of off and then pointing out of sync. How interesting. She sees the ad, turns off her TV, and then immediately experiences ghosts. Sigourney Weaver's hair is actually lighter here. I recall probably the lightest her hair's ever been. Usually it's quite dark. These eggs she sits out. Look at that. Stay Puft Marshmallow box right there in the bag. Something you don't really notice. You just kind of think, oh, all of a sudden at the end of the movie they mentioned this Stay Puft Marshmallow brand. I believe it's fictional. But, here is actually your first experience of that brand. Now, I don't see the marshmallows bacon, but I think that they put this on this countertop here is actually a stove, and that's causing these eggs to act this way. Fried these eggs. Would you like to have a demon portal in your fridge? I used to think Ecto 1, their car was the shit too. The car was only $4,800. I'm thinking that's actually quite a lot. The joke is that they overpaid. Janine has quite the different appearance in the second film. Janine being Annie Potts, their secretary. She looks like a librarian. That's stereotypical here. Actually, it looks younger in the second film. They kind of done her up different. He collects spores, molds, and fungus. You could probably categorize those all under fun guy. So Dana, Sigourney Weaver is going to be the first customer. Bill Murray's like, female? I'm... Oh, that's all we get day in, day out. The sun shines his light at him. Is it really that important to determine if she's telling the truth before they investigate this? Hey, we'll charge you to bust your ghost, then we'll decide whether or not we want to say, I mean, hey, if you're paying me, I'll believe you, right? Look at that, Sunshine Cheez-Its. I think they actually do quite a bit of beer drinking in this, too. Check her out. I'll go check out her apartment. Not really sure what he's holding, this stick here. No real idea what he's doing here. He's got like some kind of, looks like radio attached to him with some bulb he's pumping air into. One of our little toys that I don't believe they ever use again. Wow, nothing ever happened in the bedroom. Still left the eggs out. Would they actually look like that 2 days later? It's weird seeing a Coca-Cola can and then another can next to it just labeled Coke. You know that pot on the left she has? I think I've got the same thing in my house. Holding some leftovers right now. Ah. Green fridge. Oh boy. Hard sell there. Remember back in the old days how you had the CRT TV with the wood grain on it and it was always small and far away from you? Now we make the TVs huge and we put them as close to us as possible. Like, I am closer to this 40-inch I'm watching this on than any of those old 25-inch, 27-inch CRTs we used to have back in the day in our house. Would ever watch one of those. Okay, he seems to be getting rejected pretty hard here. Lewis, constantly getting locked out of his own apartment, ends up... Is he the keymaster or he's looking for the keymaster? You know, like there's a little bit of a setting up there. So he becomes like a dog figure or something, or possessed. Yes, of course, it's serious. Annie Potts right now is on Young Sheldon. She plays Sheldon Cooper's of The Big Bang Theory. His grandmother, Mima, I think he calls her. They got a couple of arcade games set up in their living quarters there. That's pretty sweet. Egon doesn't look too happy to be using the pole. Bam, Ecto 1. I guess that derives from the ectoplasm, the ghost residue, which I'm not sure if that's a term anybody uses or if it was coined with this film, but I don't think anybody had really came across the term ectoplasma until Ghostbusters. And there we, really the first time we see the now iconic Ghostbusters logo adorned on the side of the car, and they also have their unique get up here. Now, one of the odd things on their uniform, if you look at their left leg on our right, they have a hose feeding into it, and I think that is derived from some flight suits. They have all kinds of gear on too. You can see gloves on Peter there. There's walkies, possibly some keys. We have the Proton Packs. Yeah, I don't care, man. Those outfits look cool. I'd walk around like that, no problem. Now, I had several toys from the Ghostbusters, real Ghostbusters TV show. You can see here Ray has these goggles on. The others don't have them, but I think his character, which I had the goggles on, like Ray has them, kind of like over his eyes. They switched on the Proton Pack and then walk away from it. Boom, light up the maid. At least her cart. I guess they couldn't agree on how to best wear these boots. So, like, Ray and Egon have the trousers pant leg tucked into the boot. Ray doesn't. We should split up. We'll do more damage that way. Uh-oh, smoking in a PG movie? Why, I never. How's he keeping that cigarette in his mouth? Now this, of course, is Slimer. I don't think they name the ghost Slimer. They say, oh, I've been slimed. But one of the central figures of the cartoon where Slimer unexplainably becomes like a pet of the Ghostbusters, whereas all the other ghosts are an enemy. This isn't a malicious ghost. You know, it causes a little bit of trouble here. I think somewhat inadvertent. You can see Slimer left a little bit of a ooze on that wall. How do you know it won't hurt him? Now, it might have been technically an issue for the movie to actually show the process of the sliming. So instead it heads towards him, and then they find him. He's slimed. got the goggle vision. I'm sure they must have had somebody at the props department, like, kind of mangle them up out of something, cobble them together. Probably not a cheap chandelier up there. The table broke the fall. Now we get the lecture on not crossing the streams. Exploding at the speed of light. I mean, you could just say, well, if you cross the streams, it could kill you. It could be explosion. You see that Slimer's trying to drink this beer. It's falling through him. How do you aim these proton packs? This thing just violently whips out in a somewhat general direction. There's really no precision whatsoever. There's even an arc to it. Put the trap down. I had the proton pack when I was a kid. I don't think it did a lot. It might have like shot Nerf darts, maybe like a large Nerf dart bow thing. But the trap, you could open the trap up and like drop stuff in it. And there was also a way you could put like a little ghost figure on the trap, then hit the button with your foot, and it would open the door. All right, how do you not cross the streams? Because it kind of looks like they're doing that right now. I looked at it. So he opened the trap, but does it not suck the ghost in until he hits the close it mechanism? I mean, you kind of think as soon as he opens it, boom, the thing's getting sucked in, but instead he talked about closing it. It's kind of nice how in the 80s you could have a comedy that had these, like, effects touches to it. Full roaming vapor, huh? $5,000 to catch a ghost. What about the damages? Now, this was the first movie to work in this Larry King interview thing. It appears in several other movies how there'd just be, as someone becomes a big deal, they have to go on Larry King Live and talk. And so this is an early look here during this montage. Ray Parker Jr.'s theme comes in now with the lyrics. USA Today's cover, no one would care about that because they're like, what's a newspaper now, right? New York Post, I gotta wonder if that's still a newspaper. They're hitting everywhere. All right, so there's Larry King. So it's Larry King talking about them, but they're not actually there. But yeah, this is the first of these sort of things. Omni. I gotta wonder what that is. So, maybe some kind of gadget magazine. Now you see, for a while here, we have just 3 Ghostbusters. Hi, folks. I'm Casey Kasem. Oh, I like the way electronics used to look. Nice little boombox. Now she's seeing that maybe these guys aren't so crazy. They're helping things out. They're kind of picking up word of their exploits. You better call Ghostbusters. Getting out of the limo and they looking for autographs. Now I think most of the scene for this ghost has been cut, and there's nothing really setting this up, but they're staying the night at some haunted fort, and now you can see that Ray's got some kind of weird military jacket, colonial days, and yeah, a pretty questionable moment right there where it's like PG, seemingly kid-friendly movie, and then Now, Winston's just the everyman looking for a job here, and I've heard fairly recently through somewhere on YouTube, so questionable source probably, saying that the intention was to have like Eddie Murphy play the 4th Ghostbuster, but instead they get shit. Really gotta look up the name. Damn. Point is, he's not like a big time guy. Like this is probably his best role, best known role. He makes a lot of straight to video stuff. He actually tried to be the voice of Winston in the real Ghostbusters cartoon, but was denied, despite actually being Winston. And instead, that went to Arsenio Hall. So I'm sure he's like the biggest fan of the Ghostbusters because this is his major ticket, right? But it just seems so weird for them to be like, hey, we got this comedy we're putting together where it's going to be this all-star thing and some guy. So we're picking up that she plays instrument, although that really has no bearing on anything. And then by the next movie, she does art restoration. Quite the Renaissance woman. Now, is New York City more crowded than that? Look at all of this space they got to walk around in. Zool, the minion of Gozer. So one of those, was it Zool that was talking? Zool said its own name, then decided to lay low for a while. Well, he's got his Ghostbuster uniform on under the jacket. mimicking the guy on the skates. Containment unit here. When the light is green, the trap is clean. Now, this is so weird. The Environmental Protection Agency has issue with their containment apparatus, so that becomes like a big plot point to the movie. Like, how does this look like it's like posing any effect on the environment whatsoever here? But in reality, anytime anything comes up, it's like, okay, it's an OSHA thing. All right, so there's a labor union. There's all this. Now you'll recognize this guy also from Die Hard, where he's the jerk reporter trying to get a story. This guy's going at him like he's a detective. How many? Dramatic turn. No, I don't want to show it to him. I could be wrong, or did the audio not sync up with their lips through most of that scene? And it could be a problem with Netflix streaming this right now. So they have some figures coming in saying that, trying to explain why there's this rise in ghost activity. There's Dana's apartment. Again, I like the way that looks. Got some unusual lighting activity surrounding it, but now over there you can clearly see this is a set with they've got painting up on these backdrops there, but I like the way it looks. Now, earlier, we had Casey Kasem on the radio, kind of giving a little news update on the Ghostbusters. Over at Lewis's party, there's this tall blonde gal that briefly dances with Lewis, and I think she was either an ex-wife of Casey Kasem or the wife he had at the time he died. And I think they had there's some issue with his will and the kids and her and some situation like that. Again, he is locked out. Third time. Now we had the gargoyles up on top of the building, and they kind of busting through the concrete surrounding them. I don't really understand what happens. I guess the gargoyle meets her and Lewis, or multiple gargoyles, and then they become possessed. What did it do to them? This shot right here as it circles her, it kind of makes you uneasy. Or like, oh, is there something in her apartment waiting for her? See the light now. That pushing through against the door, what they do is they have like a latex door. And this similar effect also occurred in A Nightmare on Elm Street, also in 1984, with like Freddy Krueger poking through like a headboard or a wall behind where someone's sleeping. And that kind of showed how he was in their dreams, like how he's invaded their space. He's poking into their world, into reality in a way. I don't know what that's really showing us right there. Okay, so I get that she had the thing in her fridge. It had a portal there. Did we need to see the dog breaking out of... I mean, the demon dog breaking out of the statue? Because, like, how many statues were there? So why was the thing in her fridge? And if the one that was in her fridge has now gotten hold of her, here's Casey Kasem's lady. Dance for a couple seconds. No one joins in. Lewis is he a lawyer or a tax? He's a lawyer in the second movie. Now they have the demon dog in his room, so how did that end up there? You know, it has some claymation effects as it bursts out there. I realize it's not convincing, but it looks cool. I like the way that looks, really. And then you have this giant puppet creature also, and it's crashed through the floor each time you see it because it needs like cables and whatever attached underneath. Lewis here goes to Tavern on the Green, the Central Park located restaurant, which I think had several instances of bankruptcy and closed, I believe, permanently a couple years ago, to be replaced probably by, I don't know, food trucks or the like. Now you can see that he's pounding on this, turns around, and we get this sort of POV shot of the doggy, as he says. Rears up, but we don't see the action of it attacking him, and everybody's just, whatever. Was it like invisible to them? It's like I would think it would be kind of a big deal, but what do I know? Shows the indifference of New Yorkers, right? Look how big lights used to be on top of cop cars. Yeah, I kind of like that. It made it less likely someone's going to fake being a cop and pulling you over to murder you, you know? I was just going to go pick up this lady and I see this place has been wrecked. Make this quick. All right, where is the wind coming from? If I'm not the keymaster and get rejected, I guess I'll have to lie. She's the gatekeeper. The keymaster is Lewis, or becomes Lewis, even though he is always being locked out of his apartment. I actually like the way her makeup looks here. This weird shiny. It's odd to think that he is able to talk down the possessed. There's only Zool. I guess there's not a lot of reasoning behind the floating here. I mean, it looks well pulled off, but why is she floating? Like, okay, I get it. She's possessed. There is no Dana, only Zool. Okay, gotcha. But what does this do? What's this accomplish here? Of course, now the only way we do this today is to just have a green screen and then suspend her in the air there. Lewis has now been possessed, and I think their goal becomes, hey, let's not have these two meet up. Now the red eye effect right there you can pull off pretty easily enough. Do they just bring crazy people by that they think are possessed by ghosts? I think that in the second movie, there is a PKE meter. I think it changes and becomes a little differently designed. So Lewis is giving off some signals here. Yes, have some. What is a torb? Now, what's a slore? I'd still see that box of Cheez-Its. I'm very psychic. I have a feeling something bad's going to happen to you. I'm afraid you're going to die. Well, that prediction eventually became true. Well, we have a guy over here called the Keymaster who's looking for the gatekeeper. Where the hell is Ray? Oh, I like this little beat here. Now, it would definitely appear here that they're not actually driving anywhere. They're just in a black room. It doesn't look like there's a lot of seating in the Ecto-1, does there? Looks like you only got room for 2. Maybe 3 across the bench. Doesn't actually look like there's a back seat. So they were out driving. I mean, I guess they should be dropping something off. Like maybe they went and worked a job, right? Here come the cops. A warrant or a writ or something? What's a writ? What did they do to prove that there was a violation here? I mean, doesn't it just seem real dangerous? Hey, these guys are going around capturing ghosts, and we need to shut them down because of why? My friend, don't be a jerk. They expecting an explosion here? Boom, erupting the roof. Damn, that is not a bad effect. Kicking up some debris. Where were they all day? Or night for that matter. Lost track of Lewis. Your mother, says Egon. He got fired up. Now, I like this Mick Smiley's Magic playing here. This song has like, it's kind of like two songs in one. The first part doesn't play in the film, but the second half does, or the second, maybe last third, really. Sweet view of these lights sweeping through the city. Yep, they don't make them like they used to. Fight back, Crime Stoppers. Almost look like advertisement telling you to pack heat. So what happened there? The ghost went into the exhaust pipe and then what? Killed the driver? Now the driver's like a zombie skeleton person? I'm assuming her apartment would be really expensive with that Central Park view like that. I just work with these guys. Anna wasn't even there. They look like they're hatching a plan to escape the lockup, and all these other guys are interested in hearing. So basically, Peter here is like, hey, pretend I don't know what we were talking about and explain this to the audience. The building is the portal. The architect was also a doctor. Now, why are these guys all getting super interested now? And here he is, Carl Winslow. Hey, Ghostbusters Mayor wants to talk to you. That's all he does in the movie, but he shows up as a cop. The first of many appearances as a cop. Of course, also in Die Hard, along with the EPA dude. Oh, this looks so cool here, the way this wall got torn down. The Keymaster and the Gatekeeper, at last. So, Lewis is getting his wish here. So I guess as the gatekeeper, her job was to just wait for the Keymaster. The Keymaster had to go to her. And now that they're together, they can go to the roof. I guess. Saving the day. Saving the day. Says Ghostbusters in one word. No big B. Pump a place full of gas, make everybody hallucinate, think they see ghosts, then call them. But so everybody's still, man, is this true? Yes, it's true. This man has no dick. Oh. What was this guy? Cardinal? Winston Zeddemore. Old Testament mayor, exactly. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers, seas boiling. 40 years of darkness, earthquakes, dead rising from the grave. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Like, Peter just chimes in with what he thinks chaos is. Hey, Mayor, you want to save the lives of millions of registered voters? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it sounds good. What other option we got? I guess we better let them, have their gear and go fight this. Bring in the National Guard. I mean, he says, look, we got work to do. What do you need from me? Did they ask for the National Guard to show up? Because they didn't really do anything. Ultimately, contribution, not so much. I mean, it makes for the big climactic finale, I guess, to have this kind of attention brought to it, you know? You got the Jeeps and the truck out there. It's like, yep, we're gearing up for the big fight. Everybody has this punk look on the streets. Well, we got, a mix of every crowd here. You know, in my city, for about 16 years, they didn't have motorcycle cops. But just a few months ago, they brought them back. And I haven't seen a cop on a bike yet, but it was something like you don't notice it not being there until you're really told, hey, you realize that they didn't have motorcycle cops? All right, we got the Proton Packs. Ready to do this. Yeah-oh. We were so hyped, and all of a sudden things are shifting here. Clouds gathering, lightning. We're going to turn on the fan. Poor Winston's kind of relegated to the back here. You pretty much can't see him. Now they fall into a sinkhole. I mean, what else would you call that? Are they okay? Yeah, pretty much. So there weren't really any consequences to that. Let's do it. Hey. Resume cheering. Wow. Look at that staircase. Or at the top of the building we have, it's a nice looking set. I mean, I certainly wouldn't complain. I could see it not passing the mustard today, Clearly, you just got some backdrop. Got a few little lights down there. You got a matte painting over this way. But I think it serves itself pretty well. I think part of why you don't see matte paintings in films anymore is they just don't want to do the static establishing shot for anything. Now they're kind of assuming the positions of the gargoyles, but they end up reverse of where the gargoyles were originally placed. Walking around in her exploded apartment. Looks kind of cool. Where do the stairs go? They go up. You go ahead. Yeah, all of you. I'll take the back. Boom, lightning. You gotta love 80s lightning. When anybody's expecting this building here, they're like, hey, what's the giant door for? No, it's just a showpiece thing over here. No, it doesn't open. There's nothing behind it. We're getting shocked. I think you can see their bones. And there's like a bone outline, and then boom, turned into dogs. That's a really good effect. Okay, she's a dog. One of them runs off. They're gonna go sit in, and this is kind of what you saw inside her fridge. Like some kind of crystal doorway with a triangle. A very foggy staircase. Let's go ahead and walk towards it. Why not? Now, I think they had a gymnast here play Gozer. But with somebody else doing the voice. Go get her, Ray. Go ahead. We'll wait here. Have you ever seen anybody cosplay as Gozer? Me neither. Okay, at this point, the lips and the sound are way out of sync on my Netflix stream. Is that happening to you guys? Are you a god? Well, no. Boom! Lightning! Like Return of the Jedi. Why the twist of the hips to cast the lightning? Shot them so full of lightning they're about to fall off the edge of the building. Your God, you say yes. All right. Let's turn on the packs. Boom. Jump, and I think there's a flip here. Yeah, there's a bit of a Cirque du Soleil type landing. Oh, disappeared. Neutronized it. It's Miller time. You can kind of see in the debris shaking off from their miniature. It gives away the tell that it's a miniature. Just the shaking of some of those like dog figures really is kind of what does it. But I still enjoying it. You can see there's a little church to the side of this building. The Traveler. What a daunting name that is, huh? Oh no, you travel. Alright, don't think of anything. It said choose, it didn't say think of something. Choice has been made, huh? I mean, they never said anything. No, my mind's totally blank. I didn't choose anything. Ray? Well, maybe. Gives his reasoning for choosing the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man. And now a giant Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man is approaching. Did he ask for it to be big? I don't believe there's actually a Stay Puffed brand of marshmallows. I think that would have heightened this, if it was a famous figure. it's Mickey Mouse. If this was a Disney film, then Mickey Mouse comes by, steps on cars. Yeah, but I really like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Great design here. I had a plush that was available with glow-in-the-dark eyes. Not that they glow here. Something that could never, ever possibly destroy us. I'm not really sure how it would destroy them. It's marshmallow. Now that's a miniature. They have a guy in a suit, and it looks so good. Now there you can see some transparency issues as the Stay Puft leg walks into the frame there. You kind of see the ghost image behind him. Yeah, here a little bit of that too. Nobody here steps in church in my town. Angry face. I think it's 100 feet tall. Now it's seemingly blowing fire at him as they caught him on fire. Oh yeah, PG. Yeah, he's a sailor. He's got a sailor outfit here. You just give him laid. Yeah. Let's cross the streams. Ray says, cross the streams. Like, he's upset he didn't think of that. My God, it's so brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. Let's do it. And like, well, we're low on options. Oh, look at that hand come up. Boom, crossing the streams. Oh, they got like a super stream going. What did they decide to blast? I mean, they blast the door rather than the marshmallow. So the marshmallow's not like falling from the sky. You see it oozed on the side of the building there, and then you have globs just falling down, which can actually be really incredibly dangerous. Here you have the reporter. I think this actually, they wanted more marshmallow to fall on him, but in reality, if it's a ton of marshmallows, you can't just drop a ton on someone and expect them to live. A ton of anything. It still weighs a ton. So the marshmallows look a lot like shaving cream to me. Now, there is some precedent in revealing how it is that Lewis and Dana survived, because we had the dogs were underneath the gargoyle, sort of the statue motif around them, and so for them to be in stone now, you could think there's something under that. If you're going to have some outlandish fantasy elements, there needs to be some kind of set up for some kind of precedent, and this works out. Chipping away there. I think you could quickly suffocate if you didn't poke a hole in there. Ah, she's still in one piece. And yeah, we'll leave this guy to get the statue off himself. Go check on that little guy. See, I guess Peter hadn't actually met him. Or did he? I don't think he did. Maybe. I'm trying to think. Well, I would sure hope so, but I think this is outside the range of the superintendent. Okay. So he's like a CPA, and then he becomes a lawyer. Okay. Yeah, sample my brain tissue. I love this town. Do 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 do. In a neighborhood. Then the movie cuts to this expanded view thing. It does this when it plays on TV too. Once the credits start showing up, it gets super widescreen. Written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. How could I forget Harold Ramis' name? Starring Bill Murray. Then we have this roll call of sorts. Yeah. Oh, why are they taking her? Her apartment got blown up. Gets a hug from Janine. Again, not the stylish Janine of the second film and the cartoon. Anybody want to talk to me? I was an eyewitness. William Atherton. That's the reporter from Die Hard. Ernie Hudson. How could I forget? Ah, man. Well, at least it showed up at the end. And call Ghostbusters. We have a lot of religious activity on the outside here. Yeah. Do. No idea what any of that stuff on the roof of Ecto 1 does, but on the vehicle playset stuff with the figurines, you could put Peter up there, and he had a chair. At no point in the movie are they in hot pursuit of something and actually use Ecto 1 in any kind of chase. I think, to have a sequel, you got to be thinking we have to use the car. They bring the car back, they get a car, they don't use the car in ghost busting, and that's kind of unfortunate. Slimer just goes screaming by and nobody notices. And there you have it, guys. That's Ghostbusters. One of my favorites. I showed this to a Chinese roommate I had in college, and he's like, you know what? It's a pretty good movie. I think it's my favorite movie. I give it an 8. He'd give everything he liked an 8. Nothing could get higher than that. 8 out of 10. For me, though, I don't really have too much to complain about. I mean, anything that seems like a contrivance or a little far-fetched is done in this way that it aids in the good time you have with the entertainment. It goes by so quick, and it's It's funny and original and just really everything you ask for. I give Ghostbusters a good 4 out of 4 stars. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. Please recommend to your friends or the like. Who knows when I'm going to, give out some tidbits, whether it's stuff you could have found on Wikipedia or I've heard picked up in other places and what have you, or just my take on these films. Glad you guys enjoyed. See you next time.